At the start of episode 3, we see Yi-jae, who comes up to Soo-bin, and he accidentally throws water over her and says, "You've arrived earlier than I expected. I'll go get you new clothes," but she refuses. Even so, Soo-bin goes into the room, takes some clothes, looks at himself in the mirror, and changes his outfit. As soon as he comes out, Yi-jae looks at him and says, "You were looking better before." To change the outfit, he goes back into the room. Yi-jae says to him, "Don't you want to know how I found you?" Soo-bin says, "I already know. A few days ago, someone was following me, and I'd figured out that it was your brother." We see this scene too, where Young-jae was following him, but Soo-bin had noticed him. Yi-jae wants to give Soo-bin flowers, but Soo-bin says, "Last time, because of flowers, an incident happened to me." Yi-jae says, "I know that. That's why you should throw the flowers at me." Soo-bin doesn't do it, though he does scare her. Then Yi-jae says, "I came to your show and its ratings turned out very good, so I came to congratulate you." Soo-bin looks at a restaurant's name and says, "I think it must be open. I want to go there." Yi-jae says, "I'll come with you too." So the two of them came out to hang out, where Yi-jae says, "If you come on the show again, it would be a very good thing. I could get a promotion. My life would become easier." Soo-bin's mother messages him and says, "Forgive me, I can't come." Soo-bin says to Yi-jae, "Would you like to have a meal?" In the next scene, the two of them come to a restaurant, where Soo-bin is looking at Yi-jae's food. He does something with it. There's one dish that he takes out. Yi-jae says, "This is exactly the same thing he used to do back in our school days." Then she says to him, "Why didn't your mother come?" Soo-bin says, "I don't know." Yi-jae says, "You could have gone home to eat," but he stays quiet. Yi-jae gets a call. She's asked to come on another show. Yi-jae says, "Don't worry, I'll be there on time." Then producer Kang calls her. He was asking about Soo-bin. Has he been persuaded? Yi-jae says, "Yes, I'm trying to convince him. Don't you worry." But just then, Soo-bin takes the phone and was asking Kang, "Is it true that if I come on the show, Yi-jae's life will change?" Yi-jae takes her phone and says, "What kind of thing are you saying?" Soo-bin says, "Fine, I'll do the show." She watches him as he leaves. We move to Yugon's restaurant, where his family was cooking food. Some women look at Yugon's photo and ask, "Who is this?" The restaurant's owner, who is Yugon's father, tells them, "He's my son, and where all he has worked. He's an actor." But after hearing what he says, the women leave. Hana too is looking at those photos she had clicked earlier with Yugon, and she says to herself, "What could he be doing right now?" We see Yugon as well, who had come for a casting audition. Then he's on a bus. He recalls a scene. "What happened to me there? I did the work well, but I wasn't selected." We see Kang, who gives Hana her schedule. Hana says, "Why is there a day off in this?" Just then, Hana's mother, Soo-hee, comes in. She says, "It's my award show. We'll go together to receive it." The mother and daughter start talking here, where Hana argues with her mother and says, "Why are you doing this? It's your award show. Why should I be there? I don't want people to know me because of you. I've had enough of all this." But her mother doesn't take what she says seriously. She looks at her daughter's hair and says to a woman, "Who cut her hair? It's no good. Whoever did this, fire them." We move to the village, where the women were talking about Soo-bin and Yi-jae. They explain how Soo-bin's father had earlier sent him abroad for his studies, but now he's come back. The director we saw on TV, Woo, that's his name. Where are these two staying? Behind them is the grandmother, Jong-soon, and she says, "They're staying at my house. But I don't know why. They must have their own reason." Then we see the two of them going somewhere together. Yi-jae comes home with Soo-bin. She wants to go back. Soo-bin stops her. He comes inside the house and gives her the script. Soo-bin says, "Earlier you gave me this script and told me to wait, but now you can take it back." Yi-jae says, "I could tear it up or burn it," but Soo-bin says, "I know you won't do that. This script means a lot to us. Its ending still hasn't even been written." Then he starts saying, "In the past, I left you. Forgive me for that." Then he tells the story of what it was, how his father locked him inside a room and used to beat him. His father had said, "Why can't you become a doctor? All because of a girl." I stayed inside that room for a week or two, but then I gave in and told my father, "Fine, I'll go abroad to study." However, every single day I used to watch you from my room. You never gave up, but I gave up before you did. Yi-jae says, "Well, it was good to hear that none of this was my fault. And not yours either. Your circumstances were simply like that. You couldn't do anything. But do you think you can give me comfort with all this? That's not going to happen." She calls him a miserable person. Then she takes the script and leaves. In the evening, the grandmother, Jong-soon, comes home, where Soo-bin was waiting for her. Jong-soon says, "Have you eaten?" But he refuses and says, "The two of us will eat together." We see Yi-jae, who is with her mother, Hyun-ok. She tells her, "I don't have any deposit. so tell the landlord that he'll have to wait for the money. Hyun-ok says, "What's the worst that could happen to me? I'll just have to sell my shop." Then she starts saying, "I watched the show. You were with Soo-bin." Yi-jae says nothing. She starts washing the dishes. To change the subject, she tells her mother, "The show we did has very good ratings. Now I might even get a promotion." Then she comes into her room. After some time, her brother comes in, asking her for money so that he can keep his mouth shut. Yi-jae has to give him the money. The script, Gyeongsong Love Song, she puts into the dustbin. Soo-bin also meets his mother, where the two of them were eating. His mother tells him to come home because your father is waiting for you. You should meet him, but he says nothing. He seats his mother in the car and says, "I'll come next time." Soo-bin comes home. He sees that Yi-jae has returned the clothes. Then in the evening, we see Yi-jae, who was crossing the road, but her things fall down. She sees that her hairband too had fallen down. She recalls a scene from the past. The very same thing had happened. I stepped forward to pick it up, but I had an accident. Now she sees that she was about to have an accident. But Soo-bin arrives at the right time. He saves her. He shouts at her and says, "What are you doing here? Have you gone mad?" Yi-jae starts recalling the scene with Soo-bin and hugs him. Then the two of them come to a station where he brings water for her. Yi-jae says, "We've changed quite a lot now." She talks about herself and says, "Now I eat carrots. Why does it happen that the good people's good memories go away forever, while the bad people keep moving forward?" Soo-bin says, "That's exactly why I've come, so that we can hold on tightly to the good memories." In the evening, we see Yi-jae come home. She reads the script. She recalls a scene from the past, how the two of them had written it. We see Soo-bin, who is at a restaurant with his boss, whose name is In-wook. Soo-bin says, "Do you remember that day when I came to you for the first time to make a film?" In-wook says, "Of course I know. You had nothing. You didn't even have money except for one script." Soo-bin says, "Yi-jae had given me that script. On the strength of it, I did everything, and I got to where I am. But I've given that script back to her." In-wook says, "Why did you do that? What if she's burned the script?" But Soo-bin says, "She won't do that. She knows what that script means to us. In any case, you'd scanned it, hadn't you?" But he tells In-wook no. After the shooting ends, he had come outside. Hana comes out with him too. As soon as Yoojin comes out, he sees that Hana is on his bike eating food. Yoojin sits down. Hana starts talking about the work, how she doesn't like it. She looks at him and says, "Would you like to eat?" At first he refuses, but after a lot of insisting, he starts eating. He says to her, "This bike is mine." Hana says, "Oh, can you take me for a ride?" Then he does exactly that, where she holds on to him tightly and enjoys it a great deal. As she's leaving, she says his name and thanks him. Yoojin says to himself, "She even remembers my name." We see Kang, who comes up to Soo-hee and says, "Jaden has arrived in Korea." Soo-hee says, "Fine, book a restaurant. He likes Korean food. By the way, what about my daughter? Where is she?" Kang says, "I gave her someone's address. She's gone there." Soo-hee starts saying, "Who is she staying with?" Meanwhile, we see Yoojin, who comes up to the rooftop of his building where he lives, but there's a girl in front of him. He asks her, "Who are you?" As soon as she turns, he realizes that it's Hana. Hana shows him the helmet and says, "I came to return it. The sunset looks very nice from here." Yoojin says, "How long have you been waiting?" There's a screen in front, on which Hana's ad was playing. She says to him, "You watch me at every moment, but you said you're not my fan." He goes quiet. Yoojin says, "By the way, why are you doing all this?" Hana says, "Has something happened?" Yoojin says, "Am I feeling scared?" Hana says, "Is it really so? I only do the scary scenes on set, but how could you feel scared here? To tell the truth, I know how to do all these things, but I don't know how to make friends. Will you be my friend?" He smiles and nods. Hana gives him the helmet as a gift and says, "We'll meet again." Then she runs off. In the next scene, we see Soo-hee, who is having a meeting with JD and company, but we see that it's In-wook. In-wook was talking about his new project and asks her to be part of it. Soo-hee says, "Why should I do that?" In-wook says, "Because you came to me first, too." Soo-hee says, "I heard you have a script. It mentions first love as well. How far has it come along? Can you tell me something about it?" In-wook says, "I can do that. I'll give you the first draft, but right now I can't do it because we aren't partners." Soo-hee says, "Fine, I'll help you. Give me the first draft." The two of them come outside where In-wook gets into the car. Soo-bin is already there. Soo-hee looks at Soo-bin and says to Kang, "Why didn't he come inside?" Kang says, "It could be that he feels uncomfortable." In-wook talks to Soo-bin and says, "I've spoken with Soo-hee. Take this script to Yi-jae as soon as possible. No matter what happens, you have to do it. Just then, Yi-jae calls Soo-bin and In-wook picks up. Yi-jae says, "There's going to be a meeting with producer Kang. Come here." In-wook then says to Soo-bin, "It's a good opportunity. Take the script to her." Soo-bin says, "Fine." He drops his boss off from the car and left. In the next scene, we see producer Kang, who sends his boss off in a car. Just then, Yi-jae arrives here too and says to him, "Has the meeting already taken place?" Producer Kang nods. Yi-jae starts saying, "Did you call me here to be a driver?" He says, "You can do that for today." But just then Soo-bin comes here and says, "She can't do that. I know what you're about to do." Kang says, "I don't follow." Soo-bin recalls that he had earlier overheard Kang talking to his boss. The boss says to Kang, "Yi-jae's show will be shut down soon. It will be cancelled. We only need to focus on the show's ratings." Yi-jae says to Kang, "Is this true?" Kang says nothing. Yi-jae starts saying to Soo-bin, "I'll take him home." She drives the car very fast. Kang's condition got bad. Yi-jae shouts and says, "You were only using me!" He says, "I can explain everything." But she doesn't listen to any of it. She stops the car and wants to throw him out, but he accidentally tears her sleeve. Yi-jae becomes very angry. She brings him out of the car. His car key, she throws water on it and leaves. But after some time we see that Soo-bin is behind her, and he drapes his jacket over her. Then the two of them come to a nearby restaurant to eat, where Yi-jae tells him everything that happened to her and how miserable she is. "It wasn't you who was miserable, it's me." Soo-bin comes up to her and comforts her. He touches her face. In the next scene, we see Yi-jae wake up, but she sees that she's in a hotel. She puts on her clothes and comes out, but just then, In-wook was talking to Soo-bin. Yi-jae runs into the bathroom, where Soo-bin already is, taking a shower. The two of them were looking at each other, and with that, episode 3 comes to an end.